So let's kick things off with none other than top semiconductor analyst Stacy Rasgon of Bernstein. Stacy, I probably bored the heck out of our audience, but I was trying to make the point about why we talk about Nvidia so much. How important is this stock?
Well, as you said, it is the biggest company by market cap in the world, and by a pretty good margin, and it's been getting bigger and bigger. And you're right, it's an ingredient in many indexes, and frankly, even other companies where it doesn't directly impact the stock price, but I mean, their customers or their suppliers, you know, their fingers are sort of around everything that is out there. And certainly, like in my job, it takes up a disproportionate amount of my time, which I don't think is actually a bad thing. That's where the interest is. I'm happy that interest is there, and I'm happy, you know, to supply into that interest. So for me, it's a good thing.
You picked a pretty good time to be a semiconductor analyst, Stacy. In fact, one of the top ranked, maybe the top ranked on Wall Street. So let me ask you this: how much institutional client interest, how much trader and hedge fund interest is there in Nvidia?
I mean, it's especially going into earnings, it's probably more than half of my client incoming, and it's universal, right? Like sometimes you get stocks that are focused on fast money hedge funds or focused on long onlys, whatever. This is everybody. Everybody's calling in. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody wants to know what everybody else thinks. It's universal. So again, from where I'm sitting, it's fantastic. Like I'm a sell side analyst. I've said this before on the show. What I need are interesting things to talk and write about. This stock provides those in spades.
What are the one or two most important things that you will be focused on tonight with those earnings, Stacy?
Yeah, sure. I mean, clearly, like a lot of attention is on the guidance, and you know, especially now that China's out of the numbers, can they continue back to those patterns of pretty consistent beats? And personally, I think the numbers will be fine. The biggest incremental I'm looking for is actually that commentary on China and whether or not they will be able to sell anything there. And it's not really about the near-term numbers. There's no China in the numbers for the quarter. It's unlikely that there would be any in the guidance, even if they were allowed to sell, simply because it takes time to ramp the supply chains up. So this is more about, can China provide a further growth tailwind as we go into next year?
So if we get really positive comments about China tonight, do you think that's another layer that could pop this stock?
Yeah, I possibly, because again, you have to remember last quarter they pretty much took China out of the numbers. They've suggested, we know that licenses are now being approved, and so I think some people may have started to put a little bit back in, but by and large, I think the numbers going forward mostly don't have very much China in them. So if we could have that as a further growth driver, that certainly would be helpful. But there's a lot of uncertainty, both on the U.S. side as well as on the China side, and on the different products and everything else. This would be the biggest incremental that I'm looking for on the print, because actually the numbers in the near term should be okay.
In your coverage universe, Stacy, I'm not going to ask you if there's a next Nvidia, but is there a next Nvidia?
I mean, to be fair, to your point, I've been doing this job almost 20 years. I've never seen anything like the current Nvidia before. So I don't know. I don't know. It's been a long time since we saw something like this. It may be a while before we see something like this again.
Yeah, has the market gotten ahead of itself at all in any way? $4.5 trillion company. Stacy, Nvidia alone is basically worth 2 times more than every company in Germany combined.
Yes, but so you have to, you can't just look at the absolute valuation in isolation. You have to look at what it's based on. If the numbers are anywhere close to being correct, the stock isn't even that expensive. Like, it's had a massive run, the stock, but I mean, the earnings have actually gone up far more than the stock price has. And if you compare the valuation, the multiple today versus it was, say, in the beginning of 2023, before this all started, the stock today is much cheaper than it was back then. So you can argue on an absolute basis, like there's a lot of value there, but I would argue that value is entirely justified, just given the financials that we've seen coming out.
Wow.